What's up, guys? Ryan here, doing another Think, Learn, and Be Vulnerable vlog. And today I kind of want to do a reference to a couple other videos and combine them and sort of talk about a few different subjects and why they're important. And those subjects are representation in media, unradicalizing people, and why is it so important that we continue to fight the good fight, whether it's small battles or large battles. So it's a lot, but hopefully I can sum it up a little bit quicker. So I made a video talking about Ghost in the Shell and how Scarlett Johansson playing the role of the Major in that wasn't what I believe to be a representation issue. And I still stand by that thought, by that take, because it was a very specific thought. But I do want to speak on why representation is so important, and then I'll also speak a little bit on how people become radicalized. So let's start with the radicalization, and specifically radicalization into the alt-right and into white supremacy. When you have an inherent belief of you being a good person, of being entitled to certain things, it's very easy when other people stoke that particular desire in you to then utilize that for their own gains. And if you happen to be a typically cisgendered, white, straight male, you are particularly prone to radicalization simply because of the way you've been brought up. When you have preconceived notions of power, of superiority, and then someone tells you that because of the way that you were raised, because of the color of your skin, because of your race, it's very easy to then believe that you deserve more than what you're getting. And it's weird to think about this because these people are telling you that you deserve more, that the white race deserves more, that we're being replaced. But very often the people that are part of these hate groups are like not doing well. It's kind of crazy. Like the vast majority of people that are in alt-right groups and extremist groups are actually doing pretty bad. And you would think that would put the lie to what they're saying. How the hell could I be a superior race when I live in such a shithole? When my life is so bad? And it actually kind of works the opposite, because what it does is it tells you, hey, you're getting screwed. Here's the reason why. It's not you. It's not your circumstances. It's not the fact that the system is set up to keep people, poor and to keep people in shitty situations because we need people to do menial jobs and we need to keep the economy going. But fuck your life and fuck supporting you. It's actually Black and brown people. It's actually the Jews. It's actually this other group, this other thing. And so what it does is not only does it play on a sense of entitlement, it also plays on a sense of, here is a simple reason for your life to not be going the way that it's going. And the thing is, if you only consume, conservative alt-right media, then there's nothing there to show you that there could be a different path. There's nothing there to show you that Black and brown people, or just anybody who is not you and not your particular group that you identify with, they're the problem. And if you never see good representation of those groups, it's very easy to just direct your hate towards them, because to you, not only are they cause you problems, eventually they're not even human and they need to be eradicated. And yes, that's a very brief sum up of how people get radicalized. But one of the big ways that we can de-radicalize somebody or stop them from going that far down the rabbit hole is to have a lot of representation. So I talked about in other videos how for the groups that are being underrepresented, representation is really important. And it is, because it uplifts those groups, right? It gives them a reason to feel good. It gives them a reason to be proud of who they are. But it doesn't just do that. Representation actually helps keep people who might have become radicalized from becoming radicalized, because now they have very clear examples of people that are in this particular group that they have been told to hate that are not worthy of that hate, and in fact are worthy of love. The problem with a lot of these groups is that because they do so much isolation and they separate you from voices and from representation that is not from a conservative white alt-right source, that you just never see any evidence of the alternative. And if you keep hearing the same arguments over and over and over again, then like it's easy to believe those arguments, right? Because they stoke very emotional underpinnings. You know, they strike particular nerves that are susceptible if you are, you know, like I said, that particular group of cisgender, hetero, white males whose lives aren't that good and are particularly susceptible to suggestion. So it's even more important to have high visibility representation of Black, Indigenous, people of color, Latinos, etc. Like, it's so important to have all of these different groups be represented in high profile media, because sometimes that's the only media that these hate groups get, because they're being told not to have Black friends. They're being told not to have people of color's Black friends. You just, you know, they're the enemy. But if they could just see that not all people are that way, maybe they can start to extrapolate that, you know what, maybe I'm just wrong. And yeah, I'm not exposed to it as much as I could be, but at least there's some exposure there that's really good. And that's something that we need to make sure that keeps happening. Because like I said, it has that really great dual effect. Not only does it represent and uplift the group that is typically downtrodden, it also keeps people that would not be exposed to those groups and could dehumanize them from dehumanizing them. That's just as important as lifting up these groups. Because the problem is, if these groups don't get uplifted and they don't get represented, and then these hate groups over here get lifted and are only represented by themselves, then these groups are the ones that are going to attack these groups. And that's where violence comes in. And that's where the attack on the Atlanta spa comes in. That's where the mass shootings come in. You know, this is where all this domestic terrorist comes in. This is where the attack on the Capitol comes in. You have a lot of people who have isolated themselves from any sort of outside representation, from any sort of progressive, alternative views. And they only consume this particular view because it reconfirms the view that they already have. And the thing is, if that's the only media that you consume, why would you think any other way? And so that's why it's really important. And this is why a movie like Black Panther, for instance, is so important, and quite frankly was underestimated by me, is because of this secondary effect of de-radicalizing people that would join the alt-right, people that would become white supremacists. But then they realize, like, meh, I may not like that group, but I don't hate that group. That's big. That's big. That's how you reduce the numbers. It's one way, certainly. Obviously, there's more direct ways to do it, but, you know. So, think, learn, and be vulnerable. Well, let's think about how the media that we consume, what does that say about us? And I think we need to be more active with seeking out voices that are different from just the normal sort of white homogenous Western society voice. You know, we need to support Black creators. We need to support Indigenous creators. We need to support Latino creators. We need to support as many different voices as we can. You know, different religious groups, different perspectives, as many as we can. And when you get all these different voices coming in, you can make your decision then. Because at least then you're making a more informed one that is not informed only by one voice telling you what to do. What can we learn? Well, I think we need to learn that representation matters way more than we actually think it does. And it actually has a lot more positive effects than we think it does. And if you are a person that has the power to create something that is a positive representation of any sort of group that is not, you know, the majority, even though it's not really a majority anymore, opinion, you should do it. You know, it may not seem like much to like that tweet from a Black creator. It may not seem like much to share a video, you know, but it helps. Every little bit helps. And I think we need to get into the habit, and we need to learn how to continue to seek out different voices, different creators, different art, and to put that in front of as many eyes as we can. You know, it's kind of like talking up the one Mexican restaurant in pretty much an all-white rural community. Like, people need to know about it, and people got to try it out. And if they don't know about it, they're not going to try it out, and they're not going to do something different, and they're not going to get to experience something different. Because the thing is, their lives are enriched by being exposed to as many different perspectives as possible. In terms of being vulnerable, we have to look at ourselves and realize, are we doing enough? Are we truly being an ally in that sense? Are we bringing up as many different voices and perspectives as we can? And the thing is, a conservative voice is not necessarily a bad voice, but you are going to have to parse it out and make sure that that voice is doing something positive. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't be as proactive and progressive as we've been. That's fine. That's absolutely an okay thing to say. But we got to make sure that it's also not being said, hey, we shouldn't do this because it scares me that Black people are getting power, right? We shouldn't do this because of racist motivations. Like, that's the thing you got to look out for. And we got to make sure that we're also elevating, you know, better voices. And we have to make sure that we're not looking down on people, and that the things that we share and the things that we post, and like, those matter. Like, everybody has a voice, everybody has a brand, everybody has something that they can put out there and that they can stand for. And maybe you just want to be left alone. Well, that's fine. If nothing else, just don't denigrate other people that are representing these groups. That's the least you can do. I think you should do more, but hey, at least do that. And look at yourself and really ask yourself, Am I doing everything I can to expose myself to as many different perspectives as I can? And if you're not, maybe it's time to change. Maybe it's time to actively seek out some other media that is telling you something different than what the mainstream is telling you. It's worth thinking about. You know, it seems like a small fight, but it's an important fight because we all need to fight it. One soldier may not necessarily have that much power, but if we are all together and we are uplifting and we are singing and we are fighting the good fight, a lot can change, and we've proven that. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later.